PR budgeting and evaluation. Now let's start about a topic which is, I think, very close to everyone's heart, which is budgeting. Okay. Now when we start even a small family, we start thinking about, oh, then I have to make savings for this. This would be my investment. Here I would park some money as my buffer. So when we are thinking about all these aspects, what are we actually doing is we are creating a budget for us. We would say that for all my food necessities, this much money would be parked. For all my clothing necessities, this much money would be parked. For all my shelter needs or the housing needs, this is the money that I would like to park. I would like to spend only this percentage on my income only on the entertainment aspect. When I have all these thought process inside me, I means that somewhere I have created a budget wherein I would like to allocate as per their allocations that I have demarcated in my thought process. Okay. If you've seen in your home, either your wife or your mother would be writing down something, दूध वाले का इतना हिसाब हुआ, for your utensils or the household maid, you have to give this much. For your washerman, you have to make this much of. So everything is written down, and suddenly one day she says, "It's time hai na, because you have Gudi Padwa and you have other festivals coming in. The expenses were a little high, so you need to give me a little more allocation." Correct? The same scenario happens in the corporate world, and the same thing happens when we are talking about PR exercises or the advertising or anything. The same fundamentals are taken through at a next level when we are talking about budgeting. So what does a budget mean? A PR budget is an estimate of future needs of PR programs arranged according to an orderly basis covering all related activities like campaigns, press release, advertising or any other function of the PR department. What are the basic essentials of the budget? It is a financial or monetary or quantitative statement. It is prepared for a given period of time. Okay, financial, monetary or quantitative statement, which means that you are going to quantify each activity based on the capital allotted to it. Correct? And that is how that budget is made. It is prepared only for a given period. For example, when the finance minister gives the budget, he gives it on a yearly basis. Similarly, organizations make their budgets on an yearly basis, which may be divided into 4 quarters. So you know how and where you can pinch and you could make the money flow back again, right? So a budget is also prepared prior to the specified period of time. For example, for 2013-14, a budget is already made in 2012 December. Okay, because that is the benchmark of how things were and how you foresee things would be. So from December till Jan, Feb, you start working on the budget, and then you table the budget in the month of March to be taken forth in the month of April to March, which is the financial year that we take in India. Outside India, in many of the Western countries, the financial year is same as the calendar year. In Australia, the financial year ends in the month of June. Okay, so their financial year would be from July to June. Okay, so it depends from region to region. Nevertheless, we all are taking those 12 months into consideration and just a difference in the quarter. Okay, it is for a definite future period, which is you make a budget in 2012, but it is definitely for 13-14. It is prepared to attain a given objectives. It is applicable to PR functions, and allocations are subject to change according to the change in the PR policies and the directions, right? So wherever there is a change, the change would be because of the external circumstances that are dictating that particular activity. Okay. Now, concept of PR budget. A PR budget is the translation of PR plan into rupees and paise. In its most elementary form, it states that the amount of proposed PR expenditure and informs the management of anticipated cost of implementing PR plan of action. For example, if you intend in holding out, say, about 8 press conferences, 2 or 3 PR events, and maybe 2 or 3 high social gatherings, these are the events wherein your money would be parked. Okay, so the budget would be allocated on these PR events and activities, and this would change. For example, you say, I don't want to have 8 or 10 press release. There was not those many activities that we did, but we need to attract more people to our premises, so we do more of the press visits. So that budget gets translated here. Okay, and thus it has its implications on the overall budgeting that we see. Correct? So the budget formation has a number of thought process. First is the preparation itself, second is presentation, third is execution, and the fourth is the control of the budget. So these are the 4 steps in the budget creation. Now, steps in the preparation of budget. First is gather all information about competition, market, size and public. Okay, very important. You need to know everything that is going on around you, which is your external environment, the external environment in which this organization functions. Then you have to create budget center. Now, in any organization, there are profit center and there are cost centers. Cost centers are usually known as budget center because that is where the money outflow happens from, right? The profit centers are the centers which bring in the lot of revenue to the organization. So, the budget allocation has to be made taking into consideration these budget centers, or these are the avenues through which the money would be channelized outside. Okay. An organizational chart should be prepared which defines and fixes the functional responsibility of each member of this particular department. A committee is concerned with preparation to review, discussion and coordination of the budget activities. Now, this is another very important aspect. Whenever the finance minister of India proposes a budget, it is not that he just stands up and says, well, this is what is happening in the railways department, this is what is happening in the home ministry department, this is what is happening in the taxation department. That is why we need to increase the budget and we need to, allocate more funds here, or we need to park more in the more funds for buying of arms and ammunition. No, it is not an arbitrary thing. There is a committee of IAS officers who are sitting in with him discussing these plans, right? A lot of financial or corporate giants are also involved in giving their inputs to the finance minister as to how the market is going to behave in the coming years. Then this committee tables its reports to the finance ministry and the finance ministry then takes it over. Okay. Preparation of budget based on these suggestions becomes the next step. The budget is, as we have already seen, is prepared for a definite period of time. Laying down the levels of activities is also done, okay, which means that this is a priority 1 activity. This is the level of the activities that we are talking about. P1, P2, priority 1, priority 2, and that is how it takes care, correct? For example, when Commonwealth Games were approaching, the level of activity in the Delhi region would be that they need to create so many stadiums wherein these Commonwealth Games could be conducted. You need to have proper facilities made for the athletes, and that is why those housing societies were made, which were then sold off post those athletes went out from that Commonwealth village. Then it was allotted to the common public. Okay, a continuous comparison, finding variance, and follow up of and revision wherever there is necessary. For example, in North Korea and South Korea, there is an impending war. Now that war could have its impact on what? On the global economy. Okay. Similarly, in India, they have put an import duty on the gold. Once there is an import duty on the gold, it has its effect on the market, on the bullion market inside India. Okay. It may lead to a lot of smuggling of smuggled gold in India, or it may cut down people from buying gold or investing in gold, thus making the gold reserves free for the government to go and loan it out or get funds against our buying capacity or our gold holding capacity. Okay? Method of setting a PR budget. One is percentage to sales method. This is the most simplest of forms of creating a budget. Many organizations adopt this method wherein a certain percentage is allocated for the PR activities. There are two methods. One is to base the percentage on the average of the industry, which assumes that all members of the industry have the same objective. Okay, so what it means is everyone is trying to talk to the world with ABC agenda, and because of those ABC agenda, we all have the same objectives. So let us park only this much. Okay, to base the percentage on the company's experience and PR history of its past ratio of public relations to sale. Again, a very simplistic thought. Now, the shortcomings of percentage to sale method is how this percentage is to be fixed. It has to be like 1% of the total sale, 2% of total sale, because commonly if there is more sale, does that mean more PR activity? What is this, percentage to sale, and how this percentage needs to be fixed? The bases are not necessarily related to the actual method. Okay. Secondly, the inflexibility is a serious problem in this. It is difficult to change once a budget is formed, because again you will go through the same committee, the same revisions, the same whole 9-yard game, and then come back to another conclusion, which may still stand the risk of getting revised. Okay, it is not possible to make an intelligent PR budget based on a particular need or a particular time, which means that you cannot say that this much would be the need on this time only. No, you may feel hungry any time, and there could be a need or a sudden upsurge of events which may change the whole dynamism of the business. Thus, you need to have this flexible kind of an budgetary means. Factors like size, competition strategy, location, business conditions, industry condition, cost and availability of media are different factors to be considered in arriving how much to spend. For example, in a small town, you have all these things easily accessible. Not many competitors are around, so the data is easy to get. But what do you do in a financial capital like Mumbai? Okay, where there is so much of pull and push going on. Well, there it becomes very difficult, correct? Arbitrarily fixing a percentage is ridiculous, okay, and it is unscientific. Like I mentioned in my first sentence, how much percentage to fix? Is it 1%, 2%, 5%, 10%? We don't know, and arbitrarily you cannot fix it, right? And that is one of the reasons it becomes a big question mark. Okay, long range plan of the firms are subject to change too. How? Well, Hero and Honda started as a merged entity. Okay. Well, were there plans of them separating out? I don't think so. But they did separate out. Now Honda, being Honda, is still rising or riding the tide very strongly, whereas the sales of Hero has come down. Even with a beautiful campaign, Hum Mein Hai Hero, they have still come down in terms of their sales. So what has happened? Okay, people still associate basically Hero with Hero cycles. Okay, they could not associate Hero with a specialized superb machine, right? Once a percentage is fixed, it is not checked regularly for its validity, then the method becomes incompetent and it cannot be recommended further. Correct? Very easy to understand. Now I come to the task method. The task method is also known as the budget built up method, or it is also known as the research objective method. This allows or this follows the estimates as to how much it will cost to reach a particular objective. Okay, so I have a various set of activities listed down, and I would say that activity A, B, C, D would cost me this much, and then this is the total figure to attain to a certain level, right? In recent time, this method has gained considerable popularity and it appears to be the only logical method of PR budgeting, which means that I can take out any element that I may feel like. I spoke about the celebrity endorsement. Now, if it is going to cost me $60,000 US, I may as well try and take it away from my PR budgeting exercise and substitute it with an equally forceful yet cost controlled method, which is going to give me the same amount of benefit. Now, shortcomings of the task method is the estimates and dynamics and competitive condition is difficult to make. Correct? The environment that we are currently working in, it becomes very difficult to estimate the cost. Okay, these guess estimates are not working very effectively for us. It requires considerable executive judgment. Now what happens is the business environment that we are vis-a-vis the people who are making these budgets, we are in two different plane or two different environments. It is the executive judgment which gives a guideline as to how the task method has to be set. Correct? There is no universal acceptance of this methodology, and there is a lot of efforts in preparation in terms of time and analysis. Correct? You need to do a lot of analysis as to why this particular method is going to reach its objective. Correct? And how. Right? And then those arguments need to be substantiated with a validated data. Now we come to an arbitrary method. Arbitrary means as and when basis. The colloquial language or the essence of arbitrary means. The objective of this approach is to determine PR budget in a way which is arbitrary in working. It endeavors, instead of building up the PR budget like we have seen in the task method, from the scientific cost, it directs that the PR expenditure should be the result of the sales and not the cause of the sales. Now, result of the sales would mean that PR expenditure should be the result of the sales and not the cause of the sales. Each PR activity should be resultant of what the sales is, right? For example, if I have a certain beer bottles from UB to be sold, in India, I am not supposed to, advertise alcohol on the television. A more relevant example would be if you've seen Hayward's latest ad. Okay. Now, when you see that they are always projecting these stories of the common man's bravery, okay, which doesn't mean that he's leaping in the fireball and saving a child. No, that is not the bravery that Hayward's is talking about. Hayward's is talking about a common man's struggle with life and how he comes out a winner, and that is where it is the cause or the result of the sales, and it should not be the it should not be the cause of the sales, but this is actually the result of the sales. The demerit is it lacks an universal acceptance. It is based on the whims and the fancies of the executives, right? Probably the executive may say, now today I want, this is what my sales percentage is, so now I can park this much of money for my PR activities, okay? Wherein in reality PR activities should result in the sale, not the sales activities resulting in the PR activities. If you understand it, to make it more clearer to you, I would rather say that suppose if there is a good sales, then only this particular committee would decide that we need to go out and put forth a PR activity program. Whereas it should be vice versa. You need to undertake an activity which would result in the or which would culminate into the sale, and that is the cause of the sale. That's it lacks a universal acceptance. It is also on the whims and fancies of the executive. The executive may suddenly decide, no, there is no sales, I don't have a budget for the PR activity, correct? And it is not suitable for big organizations, because big organizations constantly needs to be in the eyes of the customers, okay, or in the eyes of the public, so that the people are always hooked on to that brand name and brand image. All available fund. Under this method, the PR budget is prepared based on all available funds. Okay, this is usually true for the new organization where there is a whole lot of funds available and not many expenditures are kept in place. So we don't know exactly that what would be the size of the expenditure. So the small firm has got a more leeway as to where it would need to park, because the overheads are low, correct? So once the overheads are low, they can always go and say, well, this is a PR activity where we need to park in more money. So this is used in the new firm, and when the funds are available more than what is required, obviously overheads are low, so the funds would be much more which is available. Then you come to the competitive parity method. This method is known as the competitive expenditure methods, and the following are the points that are adopted. Some attempts to match the competitive expenditure is done. This is actually a defensive method, which means, oh well, my competition is spending so much, so I need to do it. Suddenly an executive will run to the senior management and say, you know, sir, that particular company or our competitor is spending so much, sir, and that is why their sales are up. We also need to embark on the same strategy, and let us also make a whole lot of humdrum about our products. Let's call a press conference. Let's create a PR budget. Let's get into celebrity endorsement. Let's take out a press journal for our company. Okay, this is what we are doing, is we are actually showing our hunger to match our competitor. This method strives to spend more than their competitors, which means if my competition has spent just 1% of their total business or their total turnover on PR, I may say, let me up it up and let me make it double. I will do twice as much, which also means that probably they have just got 2 events planned. I will say, well, to erase out the memory from the minds of the people, their 2 events needs to be substituted with our 4 events, so that people don't remember them but do remember us. Okay, this is how this particular kind of a competitive parity method comes into being. Now there are certain limitations to this competitive parity method. One is that the budget which is appropriate for your competing firm may not be appropriate for the other firm, correct? Which means that what is true for you or what is true for your competitor may not be true for the other firm. The objective of the competitor may be entirely different. The objective of the competitor may not be to enhance the turnover. The objective of the competitor would be just to consolidate its standing. Okay, or maybe the objective of the competitor is just to give a press release of the kind of product that are available in the market from its basket of products. Whereas your whole thought process is, well, he is making such a hue and cry about his product, let me also go and blow my own trumpet, right? So the objectives of the two firms may be entirely different. The competition may be looking at one firm while you are looking at that competitor, which means that the competitor is also looking at some other firm and coming out with such kind of a budget. The appropriation is not sound because it is not based on any scientific approach, correct? When any such thought process, any such budget is made, when there is not a thought process involved, then what usually happens is that you just write down a budget and there is no control mechanism on it, okay? Because there is no thought process, there is no logic behind it. Once that logic is lost, out you are from the market, because you tend to spend more than what you are doing. A typical case example would be UB and Virgin. Okay, Virgin Airlines is still doing very strong, whereas UB's Kingfisher collapsed. They did so well in their brewery market, but I don't know what happened with them when they came and they tried the aviation sector. Aviation sector was at a boom time when Kingfisher started it, but look at the way that they tumbled down. Not only did they tumble down, they crushed their entire image that they were the preferred choice of employees rather. Preferred employers rather. So it was, you know, every employee would want to go and join them. Okay, so this is very sad state of thought or affairs that happens because you try and ape your competitor or you try and ape someone else without understanding your own strengths. Okay, there is no guarantee that the competition will help this particular firm to establish its identity in the market. Sometimes, like we've talked about Kingfisher, the entire scenario collapses. In fact, they don't even have an adequate PR budgeting exercise, wherein I don't see any of them coming out and saying, please, hold on to your guns, we are there and we will help you. I've never seen, I think once Mr. Malaya came out and he held a press conference, but we've never heard, people committing suicides, not having their share of salaries since last 8 months. It's a very sad state of affair and no one is coming out and talking also to the, these employees, okay. Unit of sales method. This is basically a variant of percentage to sales method. This unit of sales precisely means a fixed rupee expenditure, which means that, for example, I say for a cake of soap of Liril, which costs about 10 rupees, I may park 0.5 paisa on its PR exercise, and that would give me an estimate to hold on press release, to take out an ad, to talk about it in the press conference, to give out media kits. All that is to be covered with that unit that I am selling and 0.5 paisa that I get out of that unit. This is also known as the assessment method. Then we come to how this budget is presented. The budget presentation is a method of submitting a draft proposal to the management. Okay, you take the entire environment, the entire external environment into consideration, and then you fixed a budget by appropriate subheads, detailing each activities in depth and allocating a cost or an or whatever you intend on spending on that. Now then we come down to budget execution. It is the implementation of the approved budget. Okay, how this approved budget needs to be implemented to ensure the prudent spending as per the appropriate methods. It should be established which keeps a control and checks. Okay, now when you have listed down activity, there could be certain activity which changes because of the changes in the environment or because of the dynamics in which this particular organization works. So when you have certain controls and checks in place, you will know that this particular activity or this particular change in the environment has resulted in certain changes, and that is why I need to make that strategy or that money either placed or parked somewhere else, or I may need to inflate the budget on that particular activity or deflate it. I would give you a typical example of what is happening with Kalyan Jewellers. Most of the jewelers would make money on the making charges or the labor. Now, the moment Kalyan Jeweller, that being a giant mammoth of a retail chain in India, came out with an open policy of saying that each bangle would cost itna per gram, this itna per gram, when he's disclosed the labors, there's nothing hidden. Now, it worked very well for Kalyan Jewellers because they are working in volumes. What happens to the independent mom and pop retailers? Well, it has its bearing because people will come and cross question them. Okay, and thus that is where the entire question mark would come when the small time jeweler want to just, or who has the power of just creating one hoarding. Okay, there. Failure to establish systematic arrangements and sound procedures for execution of budget may result in ineffectiveness of a department. I have seen many departments being made defunct because they have not understood or they have not executed the budget as per the desire. An important role of PRO is while the implementation and execution of the budget is taking place, the situations and changes in marketplace needs to be monitored. Okay, so while the PRO is making the budget, he also needs to monitor what is happening in the market. Okay, what are the changes that are taking place in the market, whether these changes would result in what to the organization, and thus he needs to create a plan in accordance. Now we come to budgetary control. The following are the essentials of the budgetary control techniques. Number one, establishment of subsidiary budget for each PR activity and the budget for the department as a whole. Okay, each department has its head, then its sub worker, or it could be a head PR manager, copywriter, journalist, all those kind of people working under him. Okay, like it is in any other organization or any departmental structure, this is also the same structure that works here. So you have to have a budget and an allocation for not only each PR activity but also for your own department. Continuous comparison of each actual PR performance with that of the budget. Okay, when you compare the PR performance with that of the budget, you will come to know where you have spent more or where you are not spending enough, and because of which the consequences. To identify the variations or variance, if any, between performance with that of the budget. Then taking remedial measures, which is the corrective action plan, wherever the desired result is not achieved. Okay, which means that there is a deviation between the actual budget and the project and the one which is achieved. Then revision of the budget in if necessary in the light of the prevailing conditions. These deviations may have happened because of the factors that have changed, and that is why we need to relook at the budget. Now, budgetary controls are again of three types: expenditure control, commitment control, and management control. We come to ZBB or zero based budgeting, which means whether the proposed PR budgeting is necessary at all. This has always been a debate in many an organization wherein certain management or certain board of directors have this thought process saying, well, do we actually need a PR activity? Probably yes, probably no. Now, the reason why you may need a PR activity or you may not need a PR activity is entirely up to what is the end result or what is the aspiration where this organization needs to go or needs to reach. The whole point is that unless and until you don't announce something to the world, the world is not going to know that you even exist. You know, a simple exercise as naming a baby or the naming ceremony is done in such a lavish manner, not only in India but abroad as well. Why? Do we need to announce a name to the world? It is because we need to give that particular person an identity of its own, so that when the person stands up, will know that yes, this is what I am. Correct? In the same way, there is a need to make a call that yes, you or your organization or your products does exist. Whether the budget for various activities is minimum. Okay, this is what needs to be done minimum to make a sound for that particular product in the market. Okay, whether or in a way in which the work is to be done can be improved. Whether there are alternate ways of performing, or whether there is an alternate way of in a way in which the activities can be planned. For example, there is a minimum spend that I have already parked. Can I just take out that and park it or club it with certain other activities so that I have a decent spend power and yet I achieve the desired objective? Past budgets are not taken as a base to start from and fixing the incremental percentage, and the PR function has to establish that the activity and budget are necessary to spend and accomplish the task. Now, classification of budgets according to time. There is a long-term budget, there is a short-term budget, current budget and basic budget. According to function, there is an activity or subsidiary budget, there is master budget. And then according to flexibility, there is fixed budget and then there is flexibility budget. Correct? Now, public relations as seen as an investment. Most of the time we see certain activities as a cost and not as an investment. Well, PR should be looked at from both the angles, from the customer's point of view and as an investment. It is an investment because of the greater results it is or greater returns it is likely to give from the expenditure of the funds. An investment in case of tangibles and intangibles is a capital asset. PR as a capital investment is justified because an outlay is made today to achieve the benefits in future. Okay, an entire outline or a storyboard is created as to how you would achieve your results in future, but a plan is made today. That is what PR activity is all about. Evaluation of PR effectiveness. Okay, the PR effectiveness can be evaluated. Now, this is very close to the questions that we ask mostly for the advertisement. Was my ad effective enough? Did it result in footfall? Did my sales go up? Similar is the question which also probes the PR effectiveness. Both the time, can the measure of success of ads be made and can the PR effectiveness can be measured? Well, some experts say it is measurable, some experts say it is not. Here in our textbooks, we are agreeing that it can be made or it can be evaluated. Okay, it is evaluated in the terms of contribution it makes to the profit and growth of the organization. The evaluation of PR effectiveness both before it appears and after it appears is an inescapable business function. The following are the four methods which will guide to some extent in the evaluation. First is the objectivity of it, subjectively, systematically and haphazardly. Steps in the evaluation process. Select the rationale for which you have budgeted. Specify the objective. Are these objectives measurable? That means you have to develop the measures. Okay. Administer the measures and then collect the data to ascertain whether you have measured it properly. While you are assessing the data, you are also analyzing the data. You then report these very data besides what is attained and what was the objective. Then you apply these to the decisions. Now the measurement of the impacts. There are 4 ways of measuring the effectiveness of a specific program. First is the audience coverage. Second is the audience response. Third is the communication impact, and the fourth is the process of influence. Now measurement of result. First is the focused interview. It involves interviewing recipients of communications and getting them to relate their experience to various parts of the programs. Okay, which means that I go out with a questionnaire and I interview the person. Okay, did you find any benefit of my PR program? How did you come to know about the product? Was the product easily within your reach, or did you scout for the product? How long was the scouting done? You know, all these are the questions that are part of my focused interview. Impact analysis involves the study of short and long term effects on individual, on the groups and subgroups. Okay. Now, when I am talking about a disease such as cancer, I may say that, well, you know, smoking tobacco or chewing of tobacco or gutka has resulted in cancer. Okay. One of the very well-known pharmaceutical company replaced one of the players and substituted a Bollywood hero because, well, there was no correlation. He was having a healthy lifestyle. Still, that disease stuck. So when you are talking about a product which gives you immunity against various diseases, you know, you cannot have a person who is down with a disease endorsing that product. Okay. Then you come to the experimental studies. It is by comparing the 2 groups who have and who have not. Now, area-wise pre and post evaluation. When we talk about, markets, we say that identifying the market, public at which the PR activity is aimed. Post evaluation, you would say, measuring the extent to which the PR succeeded in attaining its objective. Aamir Khan is very good in doing these PR exercises. Okay, when Satyameva Jayate was about to be aired, he actually toured the entire Indian subcontinent, okay, asking and actually digging deep into the data. Motives. Determine what causes the public to buy competition. Okay, when there are so many fairness face creams, why is it that Fair and Lovely is the one which is still making a kill at the market? We need to evaluate it. Okay, and it is because the measuring or the motivating factor behind those is to be captured. Messages. Determining and planning the suitable combination of media to reach the public with the message, and measuring extent to which the public is received and reacted. Okay. Media, we have to see which media vehicle to be used and ensuring and measuring whether this particular media vehicle that was used was successful, and then measuring the overall impacts. Evaluation of non-communication related functions. First is degree of evaluation. Second is offering inputs and inputs, support of other departments and individual, and frequent reporting of and positioning of the products and the PR strategy. Review of the programs. For the organizations that are related, public relation functions organized as a single unit or scattered throughout various steps. Objectives, are they clearly mentioned or stated, understood, and throughout are they the same in the company? And content, do your programs and activities give considerable consideration to all segments of the public? Measurement of results, do you have adequate staff, budget, and management backing to gauge results of your work? How do these activities compare with those of the others in your industry? Okay, are you parking more money, less money, no money? Okay, that needs to be evaluated. Control, what steps have you taken to improve future public relation activities in the light of audit findings? Then we come to function wise measures. Specific measurements, they include product publicity, various media which carried it, what was the circulation, penetration and awareness, and how many inquiries resulted. Okay, now this is very important. Newspapers are supposed to be the most widely spread phenomenon. For network such as televisions and the Akashvani, which has the major impact, would you be using these medias, or would you rather go in for a specialized targeting demographic media, such as if there is a women related issue, would you like to go into for Femina, Women's Era, Sarita kind of a magazine, or would you rather go in for a letter or a newspaper that reaches or has a wider reach to the audience? So you need to know where your target is. Okay, financial news, personal announcements, etc., and how many and what kinds and types of medias are carried out, and how prominently it is carried out. Okay, starting or push, or you are pushing a new trend in the market. For example, in today's newspaper, I just read that whatever Bollywood celebrities wear as their attire or clothes during the Cannes festival is taken on by the Hollywood celebrities as well. So each of these celebrities or each of these designers vie for a celebrity who is going to go to Cannes festival. Okay, coverage of an event, how heavy and effective media coverage was, and what was the attendance to that event. Okay, you have big award functions that goes on. How many of those are being covered and with what media it is covered? Print, electronic, whatever kind of media that you need to have. What happened because of these results? That also needs to be understood, and these need to be reported. So like we've said that function wise measures, and we've discussed about it. Now semi-specific measurements, when there lacks numerical or other measurements dealing with an issue or a crisis. If an environmental group is attacked the organization, what was the balance of the treatment of the media? Classic example was what happened with the Maruti Motors Limited, okay, in Girgaon. So when you have all those kind of things in Haryana, when there is an attack happening on the HR manager and the post hole was killed, what was the media's attention and how the media reacted to this particular story? Correct. What happened when what was the reaction to the presentation that was made? Okay, what has been the trend of the stockholders numbers? I remember during this time that when the crisis was going on in Haryana in the Maruti plant, a lot of vehicles that were being booked were on a delayed delivery schedule. Even I had booked my Maruti at that particular point of time, and my Swift Desire did not come on time, so I went in and I booked another vehicle. But this also means that it definitely has its bearing on the organization. But nevertheless, I never saw any press release, anything coming out from that particular plant stating or comforting the people or the consumers that the vehicles would be rolled out in time. This is in stark contrast with what happens in the West, okay, where in case of any eventuality, any product that is delayed, the consumer is made aware of. Okay, has the product been successful partly because of the publicity? You know, the product may not be that good, but if the packaging and publicity is beautiful, the product is welcomed with both the arms by the consumers. So this also needs to be measured, whether the product was good or because of the publicity, the product was picked up. Do employer survey shows a favorable trend in understanding and rapport that was built. Acceptance on basis of judgment. Tangible measures are not possible because PR is an intangible aspect. But management believes efforts have been made valuable. Recognizing values of inputs, preventions of the things that could have happened, and the guidance that is required. With this, we come to the end of this particular presentation, and we now go back to where it was, which was PR, budgeting and evaluation. Friends, we need to understand that this is a very theoretical topic where you need to understand each and every slide the way that it has been discussed, because each method actually is either an offshoot of the pre-existing one, or is moving away, or is in stark contrast to the next one. If you have, this is a little complicated chapter, you may find it a little difficult in understanding, but go through this presentation at least twice. Okay, there would be many aspects that would come to your mind when you read it once and twice. Please do come forth and ask us questions any which ways that you want, and we would be there to guide you throughout this. Okay, nevertheless, I would also add that I have explained it in the essence in which it needs to be taught to you. You need to, once again I am reiterating, you need to go through this at least twice. Okay, a very simple, very easy exercise to understand. All the points have been explained very in a manner in which you can even understand at your leisure. Okay, once again, if you have any questions, do come back to us and we will go through the topics again. Thanking you. Have a beautiful morning, evening, night, whatever part of the day you're watching the session. Take care and see you again next time.